welcome to the Rev Fishing channel.
Today we will share information about around the sea world.
Let's explore the sea.
Spring bass fishing technique. Early spring can be both the most challenging and most rewarding season for bass fishing. As bass migrate from cold, deep waters to shallow, sunny flats, anglers must carefully track bass movement if they hope to get a bite, but when they do hook a fish, many more catches are likely to follow. Large bays are also at their most vulnerable during the pre-spawn season, so if you are willing to venture into the muddy waters, you may be lucky enough to catch your biggest bays. How to locate bays in the spring? The most critical step for spring bass fishing success is finding the spot where bass are biting. During the pre-spawn season, bays migrate from their wintering areas in deep waters to shallow flats where they will lay their eggs. Bays tend to follow similar migration patterns whether they are in a lake, pond, river or creek. The fish will follow underwater canals, ditches and ridges as they move towards the shallows. Depending on the size of the body of water, these migration routes can be a few dozen yards to over a mile. Early spring bass fishing lures and baits. When choosing early season bass lures, fill your tackle box with a variety of baits and lures for success in any situation. Once you have located the bays and considered the weather conditions, you can choose the right lure to reel them in. Here are some of the best early spring bass fishing lures to try this season. 1. Suspending jerkbaits. Suspending jerkbaits imitate bait fish that are dying or chilled from the winter, making them an excellent choice for colder days. Each suspending jerkbait will have its own unique movement, so pack a few different types for your spring bass fishing trip. Suspending jerkbaits with a subtle rolling motion may be the best choice. On warmer days, jerkbaits with a more active wiggle may be more effective. 2. Lipless crankbaits. Like suspending jerkbaits, lipless crankbaits also resemble winter-chilled bait fish and are another great choice for early season bass lures. Lipless crankbaits are best for lakes with emergent grasses as they can be pulled above the top of the vegetation to draw strikes from bays sheltering in the grasses. This versatile bait can also be used along points and the edges of deep channels. Allowing long casts, lipless crankbaits are perfect for covering a lot of water when locating bays. Lipless crankbaits present a tight wiggle and produce vibrations and sound, making them easy for slow bays to track and strike. Choosing a lipless crankbait in bright red or shiny chrome can draw even more bites from bays in the spring. 3. Jigbaits with crawfish or grub. On warmer spring days when bays have migrated to shallower areas, jigbaits can be used along docks or rocky spots. Jigs offer a slow presentation, can cover a lot of water and are effective at a range of depths. When the appetite of bass increases in the spring and they start to go after bigger prey, jigs with creature-like lures such as crawfish and grub are particularly effective. Smaller crawfish lures often work best in cold water, but if you are fishing an area with bigger bass, you can use a larger lure. The best color for a crawfish lure will depend on the clarity of the water. Green works well for clear water, oranges and browns are effective in muddy water, and blue or black is best for very dark water. For plastic worms. Finesse worms can be used on a variety of different rigs, including a drop shot, shaky head or Carolina rig, to fish any area where bass are congregating. When choosing plastic worms for spring bass fishing, look for ones that have a small profile and a fairly sturdy tail that does not flap a lot. Translucent colored finesse worms often have the most success for spring bass fishing. 5. Tubes. When you are locating bass in flats or along ridges, soft plastic tubes are a great choice. This simple-to-use bait can be held close to the bottom and dragged slowly along humps to cover a large area thoroughly and find where the bass are biting. 6. Drop shot rigs. Drop shot rigs are effective and extremely easy to fish with, making them an excellent choice for bass fishing with the whole family. These rigs have a weight at the bottom with a hook and bait tied above it, so they can be lowered into areas where bass are congregating and pulled up to catch a bite. Drop shot rigs can be used with a variety of baits, including crawfish and finesse worms, and can be fished anywhere from deep ridges to shallow flats. Spring bass fishing techniques. The most successful techniques will often involve slow presentation with subtle jerks, as the fish are still moving slowly in the cooler water. Here are some of the best spring bass fishing techniques for each type of bait. 1. Best technique for suspending jerkbaits. First, reel quickly to allow the bait to drop to its diving depth and then jerk the rod a few times. Pause the presentation so the lure becomes motionless and then jerk it a few more times. Continue this jerks and pauses as you pull in the line. The cadence of the pulls, the length of the pause, and how sharply you jerk the rod will determine how successful you are. Colder spring weather also calls for lighter and more infrequent jerks to mimic winter chillbait fish. Experiment with different patterns of jerks and pauses until you get a bite. 2. Best technique for lipless crankbaits. One of the best techniques for spring bass fishing with a lipless crankbait is simply to cast a long distance and then reel in the lure continuously. Keep the bait along the top of the pond vegetation as you reel it in to draw strikes from bass sheltering in grasses. After you cast, begin reeling immediately to prevent the bait from fluttering or falling as it drops. As you reel in the lure, adjust your rod positioning and speed to maintain the correct depth. If you cannot feel the grasses as you reel in the lipless crankbait, slow down your retrieve until the lure is just barely touching the vegetation. If you feel the lure dipping into the grass, speed up your retrieve and lift the tip of the rod to raise the lure. You can also try dropping the bait into the vegetation periodically and then pulling it back out with a flick of your wrist.
Thanks for watching this video.
Don't forget to like,
Comment,
share,
and subscribe this channel.
see you later!